Hello and welcome. This is Limitless talking about. In this episode, I will be showing you my first ever YouTube video that I made with a friend of mine, Pauline Orlo. It was actually supposed to be an audio podcast like normal, but the connection between her and me just wasn't there, didn't go well, and she suggested to just do a Zoom meeting and record it. And I was so unprepared. It was so unfamiliar. You know, your brain, your mind goes for what's familiar. So in the beginning, I didn't even want to do this. But I didn't have a choice. So there we went. We did the recording. It was obviously a bit dodgy and not at all what I actually wanted or maybe expected of it, but I did it anyway. Then came the part of, am I going to air this? Which is even more scarier. Because if you air something, it's on the internet, people can see it. I want to be visible, but in that way, I don't know. But the funny thing is, because we did this video podcast, I was actually curious and wanted to do more. So the next thing was that I wanted to do my podcast on video as well. Now, my podcast I started last year, and I was so sure that I wouldn't be the person that would stop their podcast after 4 or 5 episodes. No way. But guess what? Life got in the way, and yes, I did stop my podcast after, I think, 4 episodes. So doing a podcast with my friend actually gave me a new opportunity to start my podcast again. And my initial idea was to have weekly podcasts with where I have just conversations with people. But in the end, I think it's also nice if I could do something alone. So this is like a partial thing. I am doing it alone, which is highly unfamiliar and creeps me out, but I do it anyway. I want to make this familiar instead of unfamiliar. Because if I do this, because if I make this familiar, then other things will be familiar as well. And it doesn't matter if I am visible. It doesn't matter what people think of me. So practice, practice, practice. Okay. So I started my own podcast again. I relaunched it on my birthday 2 weeks ago. And I decided to just make videos every 2 weeks. And there can be videos of me alone, but also me having a conversation with someone else, someone that is like-minded, someone that has something to say, someone that made a huge transformation in their lives, or someone that helps people to transform their life, to make that unfamiliar familiar for them, to have people step up and shine their light. So that's what I wanted to do. But in the meantime, I have a podcast as well, together with a friend of mine, Katarina Heuer, and that is called The Kat and Erna Show. It's hilarious to do. It's fun to do. I love to do it. And that also gives me the familiarity I need to make videos and to do something like this. So it is possible to step up and to not judge yourself or be phased um, about what people think of you. I know it's not professional, but actually I don't care. I like it this way. So for now, I'm going to leave it at that. If you have any comments, if you have questions, if you have a suggestion for a subject to talk about, or if you want to join me in my podcast, please put it in the comments below. Like and subscribe, follow me wherever you can, and enjoy my conversation with Pauline Orlo, the Rose Woman of Sydney. So that okay.
It's from my end. I'll fix it from my end.
Okay, good. Okay, so Pauline, good to have you on my podcast.
Thank you.
I met you, well, we didn't actually meet, but I got to know you through Tony Robbins.
Yes.
Both did the challenge last year. And
yes.
I commented on a few posts of yours, and you contacted me, and that's how we got to know each other and started working together.
Absolutely. Yes.
So tell me a bit about you. Who is Pauline Orlo?
Yeah, okay. So Pauline Orlo is a life coach who specializes in relationships and also helps people get their first paid client. So I offer support in graphic design with my team, and I help people break through their money blocks. And I also help them to manage the relationships in their life so that they don't get too energy drained by the end of the week and have time to turn their hobby into their full-time work.
Wow. That is so cool. That is so cool.
Yeah.
So I was intrigued by your name, actually, not Pauline Orlo, but the Rose Woman. How did you get to call your business the Rose Woman?
So the whole reason I became a life coach is because before someone wanted to marry me, he was demanding a prenuptial agreement and $100,000 for an apartment or a house as a deposit because he was already in real estate. And I tried with my very limited skills, tried so hard to make that relationship work. Like I left, I came back, I read some things, and it still didn't work. And I couldn't, as a normal person who does no self-development whatsoever back then, I couldn't understand why. Why didn't it work? I loved him. I thought he loved me, you know, and he did to his capacity. It's just that his fears were bigger than his want for a partner.
Yeah.
And I realized that many years later. Like, we've since been in contact. He has, you know, a property portfolio that's quite sizable now. If he wanted to retire himself, he could. Like, he's done quite well for himself, and he was just trying to protect himself. And so I went on this whole soul searching journey of, why couldn't I make love work?
Yeah.
What is it about relationships? What are my values? And I was watching this TV show called The Bachelor. And in The Bachelor, the guy gets to date 12 women or something, and he gets to pick just one to see, or he picks the ones that go through every week, they get a rose. And in the end, he picks one. And I was watching this very particular episode where, I mean, this was the one that I remember was before the ones I watched, but there's this one woman who had a child, and she was up against 9 or 11, however many it is, younger, hot, model, gorgeous, fit women. And she carried herself with such maturity and wisdom all the way through. She didn't compare herself to the other girls, and she was actually waiting for the bachelor to meet her daughter before she made a decision as to whether or not to let him in her life. And in the
Oh,
end, her name's Snezana, and the guy was a Melbourne personal trainer, and Snezana was a very qualified scientist. And in the end, he picked her, despite her being the oldest one. But it was her maturity and her dignity and her grace that made him pick her. And I thought,
yeah.
a rose woman doesn't chase, she attracts. A rose woman doesn't compare, she
Wow.
just is. And
Yeah.
so that was the start of that, where it was before that season, probably. If that season happened in 2018, then it was, but I can't remember the exact dates. But as I was watching this show, I just thought the winners are the ones who they just focus on their connection with the guy and not things outside of their control. And I was like, what does it mean to be a high quality woman in today's world? Because the reality is people are dating God knows how many other people outside of you. And if you put your focus on that, then you come across as very unattractive. Like even the other girls tried to tell one of the bachelors, hey, this girl is just playing you. She's just using you. And he ended up ejecting the girl who brought that gossip to him rather than getting rid of the girl who was being mean to all the other girls. Like he
Yeah.
didn't appreciate her negativity about someone, even though that someone is documented on film as lying about the other girls, saying she was using him, stuff like that. Like it was a really weird thing where logically you would think the bachelor would want to know the truth,
Yeah,
but he didn't.
exactly.
you know
But
so it
actually, it's
really, yeah.
wow. That's
What
a
were you going to
great.
say?
I was just going to say that actually that happens a lot with people, huh?
Yeah.
And it's so true that you when you are genuine and authentic, that you attract people more than when you are gossiping and negative, right?
And that's the thing, like that girl was literally just trying to help him to get rid of that negative girl,
Yeah,
but she made herself look bad.
that's a
It's so
shame.
counterintuitive because she was a lovely person.
Yeah,
And he found out for himself the hard way in the end. In the end, in that episode, he found out, or that series, he found out himself the hard way.
yeah,
But this, the bigger thing was people do shoot the messenger,
true.
you know?
That is true.
So,
That's definitely
yeah,
true.
yeah.
So in your so when did you become a coach? Because you've got many hats being a coach, right?
I probably, and this has been a thing, like I started in relationships in 2018. I'm officially the Rose Woman since probably 2017. And 2018, I made a number of workshops up here in the Blue Mountains after a friend said, I can't meet any good singles who are genuine and authentic. So I just gathered a bunch of people who are in self-development, and we hosted 2 workshops with about 20 something people in them, and did that. So I do have many hats because I get bored, and I probably just should stick to one, except I think when you improve one area of your life, as did happen to me, when you improve your health, for instance, I used to be obese. I was 100 kilos when I was 17. Um, it changes your entire outlook on everything. And the thing that I've seen over the years is once you heal the emotional trauma stuff, then you can let a relationship in, then you can love your body. And then when those pillars are taken care of, you can venture into business and actually be supplementing your income or replacing it. And
Yeah.
I mostly enjoy that area. Like I used to deal with people coming straight out of trauma, and I will still take everyone's message on that. I'm not turning them away, but I prefer to give them to someone who is like a clinical counselor or a psychologist. And I
Yeah.
prefer to work with people who have done that base level of work and then are ready to handle their relationships or their business. I very much enjoy the business side because when people come to you for business, they're actually coming to you for relationships, because
Yeah. Well,
business, Yeah,
Yeah. And in business, you build relationships. That's so true.
absolutely.
That's so
Yeah. So
true.
I don't mean to confuse people. Like, if I was to be known for just one thing, I enjoy the business the most because they end up talking about their relationship with their partner. They end up talking about dating. They end up talking about neglecting their health. So I find that focusing on self-love and business,
Yeah.
everything else comes anyway. And if that person is in a trauma state, I can help them through that. But if I recognize that they're severely traumatized, going through PTSD or something like that,
Hmm.
then I feel that other practitioners could handle them better for a longer period of time. And
Yeah.
then I will just handle the part that I'm really good at.
That sounds really good. I love
Mm.
that. I love that. So, um, what kind of people or what kind of business persons come at your way? I mean, I've got my practice.
Mm.
So it's like I'm a one person business, but do
Mm.
you have like teams or is it mostly one person businesses or solopreneurs or?
Yes. So myself personally, my VIP team that you deal with,
Hmm.
they handle solopreneurs so people who have just finished some qualifications or are thinking about qualifications. They've never hired a virtual assistant. They're scared of it, and they're just starting to launch their business. They may not have got their first client, their first paying client. They may
Yeah.
be in business for 2 or 3 years. I do have access to an international team under Rose Woman Services and can very easily and happily service larger organizations. But at the moment, I'm doing a lot of the one-on-ones, launching new coaches because I really love that enthusiasm that new people have.
Yeah.
It's really lovely. So bigger companies and all of that, that'll be a bit later on. But yeah, I'm enjoying servicing the solopreneurs at the moment because when they realize they have a team and people with them, they do really well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. So where can
Mm.
people find you?
Yeah, amazing. So the easiest way to find me, the easiest way to find me is Pauline Olo on Facebook or Instagram. If you're after relationship services, that's the Rose Woman
Yeah.
Sydney on Instagram as well.
Sounds good. Well, it's a short one, and maybe we can talk a bit more in a later stadium.
Sure.
For now, let's keep it at this. Um, and um, yeah, I want to wish you a great weekend because yours has already started, right?
Yes, thank you so much. And to you, Erna, anytime.
Thank you. Thank you.